Tara, I'm going to go out and try and rejoin because my video is not working.
No problem, Everett, that's fine.
I think anyway, we're going to switch everyone's videos off just, from a bandwidth perspective. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to put the presentation on anyway.
Yeah. So Tara, you can put your presentation on now.
If I can.
I'm sure you can. You're totally capable.
What? Oh.
Basically, you go down, you say share screen. There you go. There you go.
No, but, oh, hang on.
Yeah, your screen's on.
Okay, so there it is there.
Oh, it's an unfortunate site that you're copying onto the screen, Tori. You shouldn't have.
Don't start with me, either.
Hey, good morning. Now I can say hello to. And then I'll switch my video off.
No problem.
Let's see if I can get. I just need to move this thing to my other screen. Where is this now? Why is it stuck on this one anyway?
Can you see my screen, Everett?
Yeah, your screen's fine, Tara. You might want to just make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, if you go to full screen, or maybe unless you need to see the next slides.
Or you do it as a presentation in PowerPoint.
Yeah, I think I'm going to just do that.
Yes. View options. Trying to find my way around Zoom because I never use it. 50%. Let's see if I can get it. View. Standard. Exit full screen. Ah, that's it.
At least you can only see my screen and not see what I'm doing. Don't stop sharing my screen.
Anyway.
As I'm sitting by the swimming pool in the sun.
Swimming pool in the sun.
And at a tropical beach.
Yes, on a tropical island.
Now that's that's the advantage of
online meetings.
Yeah. Good morning, Aggie.
Good morning, Aggie.
Hello, Tara. Hi, Albert.
Hi, guys.
Hello, Everett.
Hi.
I'm just going to quickly mute. I'm coming now.
Hello, this is Danny. Good morning.
Good morning, Danny.
Hello, Danny. How are you?
I'm surprisingly well, thanks.
Surprisingly well.
Yeah. Danny, can I just ask you? I just saw some mails about the Oka business. Are you going to discuss that now in the meeting?
Pretty much, yes. When we get to that, get to that item, If I have to break away from the meeting online, could I just mention now that the OCA responses that we're willing to assist Sapma with their educational program. It's just that before we can proceed, we would like to see a detailed business plan in addition to an understanding that any intellectual property that is created is shared with OCA. We hope that this is not an issue for Sapma, but it makes good business sense that we proceed on that basis.
Good morning all.
Morning.
Morning, Sanjeev.
Morning, Sanjeev.
Morning, Tara. Morning,
Did you-
Morning, everyone.
Ever,
Good
did you
morning.
get that?
morning, Aggie.
Yes, I got that, Danny.
Thank you. So either myself or Gary will verbalize that at the appropriate time, but if I'm not available and Gary can't speak, will you pretty much table that proposal?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Hello, Sanjeev.
How are you? Why do you sound your voice? Are you fine?
Yeah, I had my second injection yesterday.
Oh, so you're a bit groggy, as they say.
Oh, not really. I feel like the Kung Fu Panda. Bring it on.
That's good. That's good. Aggie, hello. How are you? Sorry, I didn't see you. Good morning. Good morning.
I'm well, and you? And well, how are you doing? Danny,
I'm
how's
fine.
it?
Thanks.
Hello, Aggie. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Good to hear from you.
Morning, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Morning.
Hello,
Morning,
Teddy.
Hello,
Hello,
Graham.
hello there.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, Graham.
Good morning,
Hello,
Graham.
hello.
Morning.
Good morning. I hope everybody can hear me.
Morning.
Morning, yeah. Can hear.
Hello,
Morning,
everybody.
Megan.
Yeah, morning, Aggie.
How
Hope
are you?
all right.
That's good.
Morning, Jag.
Morning, Sanjeev. Morning, all.
Good, man. All good. Yeah.
Hello, Jags.
Hi, Aggie.
Hi, can you guys hear me? It's Gary here.
Yes.
Yes, we can all hear you.
Okay, good.
Good morning.
Morning, Percy.
Morning, okay.
Morning.
Good morning.
Return. Along with a major high roller. Please don't say. Silvano, come stai?
Yeah. Just a second. Who is Stephen Reinecke in?
Mr. Chairman, I think we should give it another 2 minutes. It's 9:03. Let's wait for another 2 minutes, kindly.
Yeah, I agree.
Moment what your lunch is. Can you talk? Camera. For what? I don't know what. But he resisted.
Maybe coffee in the meantime while we wait.
Definitely, you can help yourself to the hot chocolate. It's on the side of the office.
Sapma is nice. Pods don't want to. I just want to see what it's just the agent. Huh? Yeah. I don't know. It's not connecting.
Is Stephen here?
Oh.
I don't think so yet, Aggie.
I think we're waiting for quite a few more people to join in. But yeah, we could probably give it until 5 minutes or 6 minutes past 9, and then I think we can start, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tara. I agree.
Thank you.
The first is only a few normal procedures that we have to follow. It's only at point number 4 where the meeting really commences. Give it another half a minute and then we'll start. Okay. Does everyone agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very precise, Aggie. Why not 45 seconds?
I just wanted to be sure that you guys know half a minute, but you can't work out 45 seconds.
Aggie, beware, chemists can work out 45 seconds.
Chemists can, yeah, but some accountants can't.
They'll probably work out 45 cents.
Yeah, 45 cents, yeah. Should we start in the meantime?
Yes,
Are
I
you all
think
in
so.
agreement to start? Okay.
Yes, Aggie.
Firstly, welcome to everyone. And we're just happy to see you all at this meeting. I see we got 34 delegates. That's quite a good attendance. I didn't expect as much as that, but anyway, we at least started off in a good footing. We got, I'm sure Stephen will be in with us, so that will make it 45. That's quite good. Any apologies, Tara?
I received an apology this morning from Bobby. He said that he couldn't make it, but Prije would be attending on his behalf. And Nick Shave also said that he wouldn't be able to attend. And then Daniel Sushan sent his apologies, but Jag is in the meeting for that as well. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Prije is there. Welcome, Prije.
Welcome, Prije.
Lynn
Lynn also sent her apology, but I think it was about 10 minutes ago. She won't be able to attend. I've attended on her behalf, but I won't stay also for the rest of the meeting because I've got another meeting later on. So I'll probably be an hour or so with you guys.
Perfect. Thanks, Percy.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we've also got Noel from Plascon attending also on behalf of Bobby.
Okay, great. Thanks, PJ.
Okay, good.
Welcome, Noel.
Welcome, Noel.
Welcome to all the guys who haven't been here before as well. We really appreciate your attendance. Can we confirm the minutes of the meeting of the previous meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I'll confirm as always. Read them fresh again this morning just to make sure.
Okay, you happy with them?
Yes, confirm and all okay.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Okay, can we start with the chairman's report? I think that's the first thing on the agenda as far as I can see here on the agenda. And that brings me to myself. Welcome to everyone and welcome to 2021 Sapma and Sapiti AGM. It's my privilege as your chairman to address members of our organization during the 18th month of the COVID pandemic, and we all know what that is and how it's affected us. Thank you to all the delegates that have given up their time to attend this year's AGM, and a special welcome to members attending the AGM for the first time. Hopefully, we will be able to meet in person at the next AGM so that we can at least share a meal together after the meeting and obviously share each other's company. A gratitude here to a special word of thanks to Dr. Ivor Blumenthal for all the outstanding work he's done in keeping the organization informed regarding the changes in legislation, labor issues, the structure of the professional body, and for the advice he has given us on the Surface Coating Employers Association and Bargaining Council. Thanks to Team Sapma, headed by Tara and assisted by Khomotso, for holding the fort, being in contact with the Department of Labor as well and Department of Trade and Industries and CHEETA, and keeping members informed what's happening in our industry, what to expect during the lockdown. Thanks, Tara. I would also like to thank my fellow Manco members, Sanjeev Bhatt and Stephen Reineke, together with Tara Ben, for the time they spent at the meetings and their continuous correspondence with the organization members. It would not function effectively without you. And then a special word of appreciation to our tutors and Michael Masalesa for the work they have done so diligently for Sapiti. Unfortunately, due to the costs incurred by the organization, the lack of trainees taking up the courses and heavy losses during the organization over the years, Sapiti management regretfully decided to terminate the full-time services of the tutors and Michael. Unfortunately, we as members of Sapna will need to take a decision whether Sapiti should continue its services, as it currently has an accumulated loss of about 4.8 million, and Sapma cannot continue supporting Sapiti losses. As you know, I don't know if you guys know, the members know here that every year Sapma has been funding the losses of Sapiti, and as such, Sapma has quite a big accumulated loss. Not Sapma, but Sapiti has a big accumulated loss. And Graham Boak from our auditors will be telling you all about that. Our condolences. It is with regret, great sadness and grief that we announce the passing of one of our Sapma and Sapiti leading tutors, Tony Stella. He will be sorely missed by our industry and especially by the Sapma team. He was a friend to all of us. We all know that Tony was just a personality that we're going to miss. Economy and costs. Of concern is the declining South African economy, fraught with corruption and rotten politics, having an impact on our business and most industries. This has resulted in a volatile rand with the dollar and insignificant increases in the cost of raw materials and other costs such as fuel, as well as shortages in supplies. Hopefully, the recent reshuffling of the government announced on the 5th of August will weed out and bear fruit and ultimately stabilize the economy. Unfortunately, as mentioned, we have been saddled with the soaring costs of raw materials and operating expenses, which have been beyond our control. And aside from escalating costs, our industry also endured shortages in certain essential raw materials. Commodity prices have increased due to worldwide shortages. South Africa's continuous breakdown in electricity and quality water supplies makes it difficult for many of us to operate. The cost of electricity has escalated from July 2021 by nearly 16%. As a result of all these increases, gross profits have been severely affected over the past 6 months. Mercifully, raw material costs are slowly starting to revert to normality, and we hope that the prices will begin to stabilize and businesses will start to turn around again for the better. Thankfully, we South Africans are tenacious and innovative. We are survivors, and that's a fact. We've been through a lot, especially due to the lockdown, but we managed to get through that. Not as a good sign, but we got through it. I would be most encouraged if I see more participants at the meetings, at the EXCO meetings. While I understand that we all lead busy lives, a real commitment to our members will see an increase in the value by Sapma and create a platform for suggestions and recommendations that can be utilized to make considerable contributions to our industry in the future. We need your attendance. We really need your attendance. A poor show is a lack of commitment to our industry, and a lack of commitment to our industry is a lack of commitment to our future and our children's future, funny enough. They all tie in there. Let's pull together and give our best shot to attend meetings going forward. Statistics. We need your input in order for the organization to provide meaningful statistics. Without your input, we are powerless to do so. Complaining about it will not provide the desired results. Get involved. We value your input. I have been in contact with BOAC accountants, and they have advised me that only about 7 or 8 organizations provide the information requested. The organization that I work for is one of them. There are companies that complain that they want the statistics but do not want to participate in providing them. Take the time to participate. You know the saying, stop hating, start participating. I've been in the Manco as chairman for the past 3 years and vice chairman for 8 years prior to that. And I can assure you that I have no idea what the figures are for any of the participating companies. I have no clue what the past year's statistics are. Let's rise to the occasion as an organization. Let's stand together going forward and submit information and data required so that we can all benefit from the statistics that will be generated from this information. In conclusion, I would like to thank the participants who supported Sapma staff during the Manco, including the Manco, I beg your pardon, and the participants in the EXCO. My final time has come to step down as chairman, and I trust that my position will be filled by a capable candidate willing to guide the organization to new heights. Thank you for having favored me with this opportunity. I must admit, I really learned a lot over the past years. It was an amazing time for me and for to learn about our industry as a whole. I wish the newly elected chairman all the success in the future. Thank you. And we go on to the next speech, the next report from the Vice Chairman Associate Member Annual Report, that's Sanjeev.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was indeed a great report. Thank you. Dear members, Ivor, Sapma team, I'm once again big thank you. Welcome, Stephen. I just see you've joined. Welcome. We can't hear Stephen, but anyway, firstly, I'm not just going to go through the report because I'm sure everybody has read it, and I think Aggie has briefly outlined everything. So we'll try and limit because I'm sure everybody is pressed for time. Just a couple of things. First of all, I would like to thank the management committee, Aggie and Stephen, who have worked very closely with me in this past year, especially with the pandemic. The challenges of managing a lot of issues was quite difficult, and I think a great support from both of them. So a big thank you, and not to forget Tara and the Sapma team, along with Ivor, who have contributed immensely in terms of information that is needed for our members. So again, a big thank you and well done to them. And even to Yen De Beer, I'm not too sure if he's in the meeting, but he has been giving us some excellent coverage and in terms of marketing Sapma to the membership and to the non-members. So well done, Yen, as well. Briefly, just moving on, I'm sure we all are in the same boat, and we all have read reports and thousands of reports saying how the pandemic has affected us and how the unrest that took place in the third week of July, unfortunately, in our very beautiful country has affected us. So I'm not going to go through those issues, but one thing that I need to emphasize, that this is the time where even more than before, as an association, we need to all come together and ensure that we have an association which can represent the entire coatings fraternity in South Africa, because I think we have a very rock solid industry locally, manufacturing, paint manufacturers, resin manufacturers, emulsion manufacturers, and I see that we all need to contribute to carry on the success that we have enjoyed in the last 30 or 40 years in this country. It is very important for each and every member to participate and support Sapma, which is of prime importance. I think if we don't have an association, our leverage with the government, our dialogues with ITEC, with ITED, all various departments will unfortunately be left to each and every industry. And that it's all about numbers. If we are not going to be united at this stage, unfortunately, our industry will also go the route the textile industry went a couple of years in South Africa. And if I look back 20, 25 years in this country, the cost of electricity, the cost of labor, everything has increased to such an extent that manufacturing has become a huge mammoth task. And if as manufacturers, whether paint, resin, emulsion, pigments, etc., whatever, if they don't stand together for their position and their existence, unfortunately, we will become a traded economy as time goes. And manufacturing concerns sitting in Egypt and Nigeria and India and China would basically take over our local industry. So my humble request to all the members that please let's support Sapma, let's stand together, and let's try and see how we can get on the other side of the tunnel, because currently I wish to paint a very bleak picture, but definitely the next few months are going to be a roller coaster ride with all the logistic challenges that one is facing globally. And increase of raw material cost. Mr. Chairman did mention that we are seeing a respite. We did see a respite in raw material cost, but funny enough, in the last few weeks, due to the logistic challenges, the roller coaster drive has begun again. And a word of caution to everybody is that it's going to be tough for the next 6 to 12 months, in my opinion. So, you know, we need to fasten our seatbelts and try and support the association and try and support the industry as much as we can. So, but for all the members who have supported in the past, a big thank you to you, and a big thank you to our auditors as well. Thank you very much. Tara?
Sorry, thanks.
Sanjeev, we need this Sapma Retail Chairman's annual report.
Okay.
I'll hand over to Gary to just go through his report then. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Gary, thank you.
All right, thanks, Agi and Sanjeev. I think it is quite clear how important it is for us all to stand together. We are going through extremely testing times. But from a retail perspective, I'd just like to cover a couple of key points. You've all got the report. I want to talk about the way forward in terms of the retail committee. Briefly talk about training and development and some of the work that we've already been doing and discussions we've been holding with the longer retail training. And then just to talk about the establishment of our new retail association and why and what we're trying to achieve with the new retail association. And briefly speak about membership fees and funding, because these are always difficult items to cover. But just quickly, in terms of economic overview and looking at the retail sector, and I'm generalizing here, I'm talking specifically paint and hardware as a whole, and bear in mind, in terms of paint, we're not just talking decorative, there's also the industrial, automotive, and other sectors. But from in terms of PwC's report and feedback that we've received from BER, which is the Bureau of Economic Research, they are expecting a recovery in the economy this year of something between 2.5% and 4%. The economy is being largely supported at this point in time by the mining and agricultural sector, which has seen improved revenue collections from the South African Revenue Authority, which has boosted the economy from one aspect. And what we also seen is that the retail confidence has risen in the last 6 years, in the second quarter of 21. So if you look at the independent paint and hardware sector, and I'm generalizing, I'm taking numbers that I've received from various quarters, we've realized a growth of over 30% versus 2020 and 12% versus 2019. So for those of you, it's just a guided benchmark. Some of you might have realized greater benefits than that. But if you're trying to understand how the industry has performed, that is a weighted average of how the retail sector performed. Just moving on. Again, the way forward in terms of the retail committee, I presented a document last year setting out the objectives of what the retail committee wanted to achieve. And just in summary, again, just to re-emphasize those points, the Retail Council needs an interactive and collective committee, exactly as Agi and Sanjeev has emphasized, the need for members to stand together and the need for the industry to stand together. Otherwise, we are not going to succeed. The retail and paint sector needs a mechanism that we can call our own, and where we can collectively have an independent voice. As you all know, our objective is to talk to the Department of Trade and Industry, and without a collective voice and without people working together, we're not going to have enough muscle to get things done. We need self-governance. We need input to participate in the retail sector, and we need to be recognized. Moving forward, we've been engaging with the Lunga retail consultants, and Paul has come up with a retail training program. Some members already have has already started embracing these training modules, but this is really focused on the retail sector, and it's focused around growth, and it is focused around selling skills. But again, Paul has said, unless he can get the necessary support, both from the retail sector and the members, it will be very difficult to get an aligned program for everybody. He's proposed various training methods, which include online training, subscriptions for groups and individuals, and even bespoke face-to-face training. He's also proposed scheduled webinars where you can do workshops and presentations. So, I mean, there's a lot of information here, and this is information I'd like to share with many of you, and I'd like to onboard you with this information. Just in terms of establishing a retail association, we have now formally established a retail association. The key thing here again is to plan. Plan is to appoint representatives so we can ring-fence members. And the objective here is to articulate what we want to do and how this association will work. We need to prepare a formal clear plan to enable the association to sit at the table with the Department of Trade and Industry, as I've mentioned before. And we also need to work together to safeguard compliance and to agree on how we want to meet and achieve these targets in the future. We also need to ensure that the Retail Association and Sapma is recognized as a professional retail body. And the key thing here is about getting recognition around the training, the work we're doing, and also to get the necessary support and funding for our members. Moving forward, just in terms of membership and funding, again, as we've emphasized before, it's critical that we throw our weight behind the above deliverables. I encourage members to get involved and to speak out on issues. I will be contacting members through Tara to see who, in addition, we can get on board. We currently have roughly 10 groups that have represented or have registered with Sapma, which represents over 1,500 outfits, so roughly 20,000 staff. We are engaging with other larger buying groups such as EST, and we hope to get the support up to 2,000 outfits and 35 staff, which will really strengthen our association and position us as a hardware and retail group which has a voice. Just in terms of funding, I know the board have agreed and have proposed that in terms of funding that we split the current Sapma fees to apportion some of these costs to the association to help with the running and operational costs. But Ivor will cover these in more detail in his presentation. But that's where we are at the moment. It's difficult to get members on board. It's difficult to get this going. But you know, between the team and myself, we are determined to establish ourselves as a serious voice and as a serious association. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Gary, thank you.
Did you guys hear me at the ending?
Beg your pardon?
I had a problem with my speaker. Did you hear me?
Now we can hear you clearly. Thanks, Donald. Okay, technical committee annual report. Who's doing that, Tara?
Donald Wasson is going to go through that report.
Okay.
The report was not sent to members, so Donald will just briefly go through the technical committee, what's been going on this year, specifically with lead and paint, and then I will send that report after the meeting has closed.
Okay, Donald, so all the balls in your court, eh?
Oops.
Okay, great. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, EXCO members, Ivor and guests. I think I can probably echo exactly what every one of the other speakers has touched upon in terms of the year and what we've been through. The first thing I would like to do is to thank the committee members that have been working with us on the various topics that we are faced with as an industry. And at the end of my talk, I would actually make an appeal that we have more and more participation and involvement, because the new way of working that has been sort of foisted upon us has needed all of us to sort of change our approach, and sometimes we don't get the focus that we need or the momentum that we need without having face-to-face meetings. The topics that were on the agenda for 2020 include lead in paint, reclassification of titanium dioxide, the South African Bureau of Standards and their involvement in the development of a VOC standard and road marking paint testing. Obviously, the technical committee meeting minutes that are generated will give detailed review of all of the work that's been done. This is really just a brief overview. The hot topic at the moment is going to be lead in paint. The regulations relating to lead in paint or coating materials was given the go-ahead for public comment at the end of May 2021 after the legal review had been completed. The regulations call for samples to be submitted to an accredited laboratory for testing lead content. The mechanics and the finer definition of this requirement are still under discussion in various groups. The National Lead Exposure Prevention Working Group has been formed with the input from a variety of government departments, municipalities, academia, and industry stakeholders, and the SABS. The purpose of this group is to drive the implementation of the adoption of the lead regulations. Together with the Department of Forest, Fisheries and Environmental Affairs, there is a project happening to assess the financial implications of the lead regulation rollout. There is also work underway to identify accredited laboratories for lead testing. And there is currently a tender process happening to arrange equipment for testing for lead content at ports of entry. The department is hoping for the regulation to be adopted at the end of 2021. It's not yet clear to me whether that is actually going to happen or not. There is a lot of traction and there is a lot of progress happening within the working groups, but the topics of accredited laboratories and the cost of testing are something that are very much on the top of our agenda, and something that needs to, we need to get some answers and be able to feed back into our membership sooner rather than later. Moving on to the titanium dioxide GHS reclassification. The European Commission has classified titanium dioxide as a category 2 carcinogen by inhalation. Mixtures containing titanium dioxide particles with a particle size equal to or below 10 microns at a level of 1% or greater will have to be labeled. This GHS classification will come into effect in Europe from 9 September. And given that South Africa usually follows Europe on GHS-related matters, it is reasonable to assume that the labeling will become applicable locally. Obviously, this talks to the bigger question on when GHS is actually going to be finally adopted in this country. And I got a lot of conflicting answers when I tried to research that one, so I'd probably just park it for now. Moving on to the SABS accreditation and testing. There is ongoing interaction between Sapma and the SABS on a range of topics, including product testing and accreditation and the adoption of standards. Not a heck of a lot happened during the 2020 year, to be honest, but I think given the input from the last technical committee meeting, that we probably will have a way forward for the balance of 2021. It has been confirmed by the SABS that the current testing of part 1 and part 2 of road marking paint remains the same, and that the additional EN methods are being reviewed. membership of the SABS technical committees needs to be refreshed so that these reviews can be accelerated. I do know that the SABS is battling to get enough people together who are currently relevant and involved in aspects of the industry to be able to drive the implementation and development of standards. So again, I would make an appeal on the behalf of the SABS that if anyone is involved and needs to have these standards happening from a local point of view, that they get involved with the technical committees. On VOC limits, it was agreed that South Africa will adopt the Green Building Council of South Africa VOC standard for interior paint. Sapma submitted a proposal to the SABS for the adoption of the standard. This proposal needs to be revived and then recirculated for review and voting. Again, this sort of fell by the wayside with all the other stuff that happened during last year and this year. And I'm keenly aware of the fact that the majority of our technical members are probably heavily involved in finding alternative raw materials at the moment, given the global situation. I know for myself, I've come up with some ideas that I never thought possible before, and it just shows you what can be done when you put under pressure. This summary gives a brief update on the main activities of the technical committee. I would encourage members to become involved and participate in the activities undertaken. And I'm confident that with the involvement of the greater paint community, we can make progress with some of these challenges facing our industry. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Donald. Just to confirm, I'm sure that, I'm hoping that you can all see my screen, the current technical committee is made up of the people listed on there. So if anybody else would like to join and be a part of that committee, if they could just obviously let me know, and then I will send out relevant information from there. So thanks Donald. And then I think we're going to move on to the education. Yeah, perfect. So I'll hand over to Megan. Thank you.
I hope everybody can hear me clearly. Mr. Chairman, honored guests, members of the executive and fellow members, over the past 12 months, the Education and Training Division of Sapma have been through many changes and has had many stumbling blocks, especially with Cheetah in obviously accrediting assessors and moderators, and we've had various other hurdles we've had to clear through Cheetah. As I'm sure most of you are aware, the SPITI skills-based training programs, the accreditation expired in 2019, in October 2019 at least. And, SPITI has applied for re-accreditation at the end of 2018. And to this day, with interaction with Cheetah and various meetings and miscommunications, etc., this matter has still not been sorted out, and the skills-based training programs have not been re-accredited. Cheetah has asked Sapma to reapply, and this has been done. And there's still engagement with Cheetah to have this matter sorted out. We still have applied for assessor and moderator status for Gary, Eddie Elia, and myself. And this has been a long drawn out affair as well with Cheetah. We have in the meantime had a few students still enrolling for the technology program modules, and this is being completed via distance learning. We also have had a couple of students enrolled with the BCF for their online training modules, and this has been well received, and feedback has been very positive from members. Reg Odnot is also doing training and mentoring for us, and we feel that this will assist with knowledge sharing and giving his input as far as technology of paint and more chemistry-based training programs are concerned. We are always looking for more people to train, mentor, and assist us with training. So if you know anybody, please let us know. the online retail videos are still available, and they've been recently upgraded, and this has been going fairly well. I've been told, especially on the retail side. SAPiti is still using the services of the current learner management system, and this through the company Altron, and this is to develop a central platform for all the SAPiti training. This development will ensure that all students that register for any courses will register through one platform. Now, while SAPiti has had a very trying and difficult year, I do believe that with all the changes and the training that's taking place, and with its new members that have joined Sapma, and with the support of the Sapma members, SAPiti will probably have a more positive second half of 2021. I'd like to assure all our members that as soon as we have all the finalized accreditations, documents from Cheetah, we will make these available to you. And I would like to encourage all members to use the current and new training programs becoming available through SAPiti to train and educate all staff members. In closing, I would like to extend a vote of thanks to all the members who have supported the various training programs and courses that SAPiti has had to offer, considering the restrictions from Cheetah. I would also like to thank our tutors and support staff for the hard work and dedication over the past 12 months. It has not been an easy ride, with many changes and challenges along the way. As I said in my report from 2020, we would appreciate any feedback you have for SAPiti and help us grow and develop as your one-stop training provider for the paint industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Megan. So that's just the current Education and Training Committee that's available. And as Megan did mention, that if there's anybody that would like to join or be a part of that committee, and moving forward within the professional body as well, we would appreciate all the assistance that we can get. I think moving on, I think I'm going to move on to Ivor's report, and then I'll do my report after Ivor, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
Ivor, you're next up. Ivor, are you there?
I am, Chair. Chair, thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity. So let me start off by saying that it's an absolute privilege being involved with Sapma, and as I've been over the last 3 or so years, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So the Coating Confederation, there's little doubt that the sustainability and impact of Sapma is going to be dependent on the effective formation of a broad church of organizations, which together with Sapma are able to maintain a healthy and progressive confederation for coatings in South Africa. We've heard from Gary, we've heard from Aggie, we've heard from Sanjeev about the need, more so now than ever before, to have a national single lobbying voice on behalf of the coatings sector in this country. And so, certainly Sapma is making huge progress in creating that single voice under the notion of a coating confederation. The current Sapma constitution makes allowance for a confederation, and Sapma's resolved to create and register the confederation with Sapma as its initial patron, ensure that for the industries included within the scope of the confederation, that there are active organizations which wish to participate within the federation or need to be established sometimes under the ambit of Sapma. And here I refer particularly to the work that we've done with Gary and the retailers in terms of establishing the South African Wholesale and Retail Coating and Coating and Hardware Association. Industries currently included under the Coating Confederation, which Sapma would be responsible for, are the Surface Coating Association, Surface Coating Employer Association, and the Retail Paint and Hardware Association, the two associations under the ambit and auspices of Sapma currently. The Surface Coating Employer Association currently represents 17 out of the full complement of SAPMA's 230 odd members. So it certainly is not representative of surface coating or coatings in general. And we've gone to great pains to make this point with the National Bargaining Council for the chemical industry, because the way bargaining councils normally work is once they have an agreement in place, they then ask the minister to extend that agreement to cover non-parties. And in this instance, it would be ridiculous to assume that an agreement signed by 15 companies, not 17 companies, could be extended to cover 250 odd companies, which are the non-party members of SAPMA. So we've gone to great lengths to lobby and negotiate with the bargaining council, even to the extent of threatening withdrawal, which I'm very happy to say wasn't necessary. The Surface Coating Association has negotiated a role within the National Bargaining Council for coating companies generally, which says as follows. There will be a sectoral addendum to the main agreement of the Bargaining Council covering surface coating. We've never had that before. They've agreed to give it to us, essentially a chamber within the Chemical Bargaining Council in this country. And I think that's absolutely critical for SAPMA and for its members. There will be a moratorium for initially at least 4 years, so that the Bargaining Council will not request of the minister that the agreements entered into with the other chambers and trade unions on a voluntary basis be extended by the minister to cover non-parties, i.e. the 240 odd members of SAPMA, and in fact those many companies out there that are not members of SAPMA, but are non-parties to the Bargaining Council. So we've managed to negotiate a moratorium for 4 years. So 4 years after signing this agreement this year, which should be around August, September, if they get to that, 4 years from now, within that 4-year period, the minister will not extend the agreement so that, for example, those of you who are not members of SCA would be facing a minimum wage of essentially what is currently 8,700 Rand, likely to increase to 10,000 Rand per person, irrespective of the job that they actually do. Imagine the impact if we hadn't got that moratorium for SAPMA and for the SCA. Imagine the impact that would have had on the members of SAPMA facing a minimum wage of 10,000 Rand a month, and then an increase of 3.5% minimum thereafter. So I think we've done great work in that regard. We've also managed to get an agreement with the Bargaining Council, because remember, by law, the Bargaining Council are actually able to come after SAPMA members and the companies out there in the industries that SAPMA represents, but in fact are not SAPMA members. They're able to come after them, at least for the condition of employment, if not for the wage component of the agreement. So we have an agreement now with the Bargaining Council that says on a voluntary basis, SAPMA can offer its members the membership of the Bargaining Council, designed to ensure that those members do not have to enter into individual plant-based agreements with trade unions, but that those members will be able to access dispute settling, mediation, and arbitration services, so that SAPMA members do not have to appear before the CCMA without representation, as ordinarily would be the case. And on this basis, the annual agreement reached by the Surface Coating Employer Association, which constitutes the addendum to the Bargaining Council, would need to be applied by those SAPMA members who take it up on a voluntary basis. Now, that's a major win. It helps us keep the wolf, which is the Minister of Employment and Labour, from our door in extending that agreement for at least the next 4 years to cover non-members of the Bargaining Council. In other words, the majority of SAPMA members. So that's the Surface Coating Employer Association, and I must say that we've had accolades from the Bargaining Council that this is the first year in 30 years of involvement that the Surface Coating Association has stood up, has stepped up, has threatened to pull out of the Bargaining Council unless it's listened to, where in fact we have been listened to by the major parties at the Bargaining Council. So thank you to everybody involved in that. The Retail Paint and Hardware Association that Gary alluded to, this association has recently been registered by SAPMA. It is designed to cater to retail members of SAPMA who require a collective voice, where two structures are currently being created by two different government departments. And that's a bargaining council for the wholesale and retail sector, which is being facilitated by the Department of Employment and Labour on the one hand, and a wholesale and retail charter council by the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition. Now, the Charter Council obviously controls BBBEE within the sector that it's responsible for, and in this instance, it would be wholesale and retail. So neither of these structures are up and running, but we certainly want to see the retail membership of Sapma at the table as these structures start being negotiated. So those are the two associations that Sapma is very actively involved in managing, creating, facilitating, and making sure that there is not spillover for Sapma members who are not members of either of those associations in terms of the way government ordinarily would or might work. So the next thing we're working on is the Sapma certification model. And in short, what we are saying here is that Sapma will be in a position to certify internal training departments in our member companies. So to give them legitimacy in terms of their internal training activities. The requirement from those members who have internal training departments is for the divisions to be registered, assessed, and recognized against a national standard for training departments. And so when we identify these companies, Sapma members that engage in internal training and competency certification will collaborate with Sapma on a collective standard of training, development, and certification, which all Sapma registered internal training departments and activities will follow. Sapma maintains that the national standard must speak to the training division itself in terms of structure, administration, and quality control. And once the actual administration of training is dispensed with and recognized, the focus shifts to the quality of the training programs themselves, including the credentials of those offering the training as well as those assessing competency. And obviously, a great deal of this activity will fall under Megan's division. What should be attractive to Sapma members in this regard is that the final certification offered to those who complete the program would be done in association and partnership between the registered member company and Sapma initially. And once we have the confederation up and running, the confederation itself, which is not just Sapma, but are all the organizations involved in the confederation for coatings that we're currently creating. The second Sapma initiative relates to the registration, recognition, and endorsement of internal laboratory services for product certification amongst our members. And colleagues, I hope you'll realize that as I'm announcing or covering these things, it talks to, from a training and development point of view, what Gary mentioned in terms of retail and hardware training, as well as what Megan mentioned. But now it talks to what Donald mentioned in terms of lead standards, et cetera, and the opportunity for your companies, if they're medium to large size companies, to have internal laboratory services and by way of affidavit to attest to the quality of your product against local and global standards, particularly in terms of climate and environmental issues such as lead-free. So once we've identified Sapma members that are engaged in internal product certification, we will collaborate again with those members on a collective standard of certification, which all Sapma registered internal laboratories will follow. Where a Sapma member company has elected to implement internal product certification using a standardized nationally recognized system, Sapma would encourage the company to register the activity with it so that the division within the company can be assessed, can be recognized by Sapma for this purpose. This activity of recognizing a member's internal laboratory services is not designed to bypass SANAS accredited quality assurance processes or to represent that Sapma is recognizing an internal laboratory service. In doing that, that recognition is offered in any way in partnership with SANAS. We will obviously eventually, once we've got a critical mass of our members who do internal certification, we'll go to SANAS and ask for a formal relationship and for formal recognition. But self-certification will certainly have more credibility because of the level of accountability to Sapma than it currently has. And certainly we know that a number of government departments have questioned self-certification because really then it is really on a trust basis. And as we know, there have been certain problems in the past in that regard. The next project that we're working on, or that I'm working on as a consultant to Sapma, is the Professional Body Pilot Project. And the Coating Confederation will be introduced, so not Sapma, but the Coating Confederation that we're creating will be introducing professional recognition for employees covered by the scope of the Confederation, which is the entire coating scope, which covers supply, manufacturing, retail, and also contracting. We will commence our exercise in the retail chamber where in fact we are looking at a relationship with the Canadian Retail Association, which recognizes sales associates, first level managers, retail marketing specialists, and supply chain management professionals. And those will be our first 4 designations that we will be managing for the retail chamber to make sure that it's running properly. So from September to December, we'll be doing the development and alignment of the taxonomy, that's a designation taxonomy, as well as figuring out the management information system. From January to March, we'll be piloting the designations in the retail chamber. And from April, there'll be a rollout for all Sapma companies, because outside of sales associate, first level manager, retail marketing specialist, supply chain management professional applies as professional designations to all of your companies, not just to the retail sector, but we'll be piloting in our retail chamber on the retail sector. The next part of my report relates to the pilot program for Sapma's Public Accountability and Ethics Ombudsman, where we are branding to the world at large, to the community at large, that members of Sapma are accountable both for their business practices as well as for their ethics and competency. And we've initiated an advert which has piloted in the Western Cape, where and it'll be on a monthly basis, where we highlight more and more of our member companies that are accountable to Sapma in terms of competence and behavior, where we appeal to members of the public to engage with Sapma should they have any issues of ethical concern, etc., so that we are in our MADCO. Our constitution refers to the ethics committee as the MADCO, MADCO, in our MADCO, so that we're able to mediate any disputes which might arise on a company-to-company basis or a consumer-to-company basis. Our objective, colleagues, is to ensure that within a short period of time, and we're saying here by the end of 2022, our objective is to approach the Consumer Tribunal, the Consumer Council, and to get the Consumer Council to refer all ethical and competency complaints that they receive on behalf of our member companies to us, so that we're able to mediate and we're able to arbitrate on these issues, and so that in the process by 2023 we have a critical mass of people within our membership who've been trained up to mediate and to arbitrate on these matters, obviously under the auspices of either the CCMA or the Bargaining Council in this regard, just from a procedural perspective. So that project has been launched, and I think that the Western Cape have been very brave in putting their hand up and saying, right, we'll allow ourselves to be the, if you want, the guinea pigs that are tested in terms of ethical and professional accountability to the public at large. And so we move on from there. But it really is a great initiative that Sapma has implemented, and I've been only too grateful to be involved with Tara in this. The idea is that the campaign will be replicated in provinces initially, which currently represent in excess of 15% of Sapma members, and thereafter in all of the remaining provinces. Right. Then something that is new, but that is very, very pressing. I don't know how many of you colleagues are aware that by the end of this year, if the Department of Employment and Labour have their way, they will have gazetted the new employment equity profiles for your industry and for your companies. And more importantly, by July of next year, they will have implemented their certification model for companies which want to be on the preferential procurement database of the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, or alternatively, companies which supply product and services to other companies that are on the preferential database of the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition. Basically, if you want to supply any government, local, provincial, national government, or any company which is supplying local, provincial, national government projects when it comes to the construction sector as a whole, or the coating application sector as a whole, you will need your company to be certified. And the Department of Employment and Labour will be the organization doing the certification. And that department, in fact, will do the certification on the basis of your measured entity status, your BBBE measured entity status, and most importantly, you're meeting the employment equity guidelines that they are now upping in terms of percentages for you. And in my report, I have included tables from their documents showing how those percentages are going to be upped and how they might impact racially from a gender perspective across your employee profile, and then particularly across your management profile and across your professional employment of people of color and people of other genders, not other genders, but male and female genders, obviously, as well. And so the impact of that is critically important. Now, what the Department of Trade and Industry have asked is Sapma, but hopefully the Confederation rather than Sapma in an isolated way, are we able to create a transformation barometer so that the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition don't have to deal with our members on a one-to-one basis, but rather across the industry and across the sector of coatings. And so going into 2022, we will examine the worthiness of a project of that nature, creating a transformation barometer so that we can stand up and say that our Confederation is accountable for the issue of transformation in the coating sector in the country. The jury is out whether or not, and as you heard Aggie talking about research and the lack of participation to date in research, 15 companies supposed to be participating, or rather a number of companies supposed to be participating, less than 40% of those companies actually participating in that research project. The question is, if we establish an equity, a measured equity status barometer, as we've been requested to by government, whether we'll have success in getting information back from our members. And the final point that I report on in my report is the research agenda. All government departments with which Sapma currently have a relationship look to Sapma to coordinate trade and marketing data for the benefit of both the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition and Department of Employment and Labor for their planning purposes, but also for their supply side incentive program. In other words, creating incentives for you so that you can buy more machinery at a subsidized rate, you can build more plants, you can take your product overseas if you want to export, etc. They base all of that supply side incentive model on the research we give them back through the current exercise that is administered by BOC. And as Aggie said, he's been involved with Sapma at a leadership level for more than 10 years, and never once has he seen any report, any statistics relating to any particular company in the industry. That is the level of confidentiality that Sapma's research program has managed to inculcate, and yet very few companies are participating, and that is a problem in terms of legitimacy. The information supplied affects the nature, volume, and content of supply-side incentive programs, which are made available to our members from government, as well as labor and import and export policy in this country. Government departments are making policy decisions and implementing legislative changes on the basis of information that's available to them currently from the coating sector, which is minimal. And I do need to warn and caution, it is minimal. We established a hands-off research program with BOC, our auditors, where at one stage we had 14 companies supplying information. That's down now to a minuscule number of those 14. As a sectoral body, Sapma, and eventually the Confederation, does not have the luxury of not completing this activity. And to explain what I'm saying, it's this. At some stage, government will turn around and say, if we do not have self-governance in our sector, in other words, a confederation of many associations governing the coating sector, they will ask the construction sector to govern our sector. So we will be subject to the Construction Charter Council as we currently are. From a labor relations perspective, they'll ask a wholesale and retail bargaining council without our participation to govern wages, conditions of employment, and how disputes are settled, et cetera, et cetera. And we cannot afford to be in that position. We cannot afford for the message to go out that we're questioning our ability to self-govern. And thank God at the moment we're not, but we need our members to participate with us. And as Aggie has said, specifically in the area of research, if we are to retain the legitimacy of the coating sector in this country, because otherwise government will not specify supply side incentives for the coating sector. I don't know if you know, ladies and gentlemen, but for the last 10 years, the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition have had supply side funding mechanisms available to coatings suppliers, manufacturers, retailers, and applicators, contractors. And yet the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition are saying that there's virtually no drawdown, no application for those supply side funds which are available from the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition. And that's already sent out the wrong message to them, because they've been warned by the Auditor General, if it's not used, close it down and give it somewhere else, because otherwise we have to sweep your accounts into the national fiscus, and you lose, DTIC lose the ability to put that funding out into industries and into our sectors. So the point I'm trying to make is we need to make sure that our self-governance is intact and in place. Thank you very much. I apologize for how lengthy that report was.
Thank you, Ava. Thank you. Very informative. Thank you. Okay,
Sure.
Back to you, Tara.
Perfect, thanks. Thank you. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, honoured guests, members of the executive and the MANCO. I would just like to obviously welcome the Sapma team, which is obviously Khomotso and myself. So over the past 12 months, there's obviously been quite a bit of restructuring in the association. Firstly, it was obviously to cut costs within the association and to alleviate some of the expenses. Myself and Khomotso are running the day-to-day operational issues of the association. Khomotso assists me with the website, office administration, and all the training-related queries and questions. And then myself, I handle the accounts, the new membership training, the management of the tutors, mentors, and assessors, as well as working with Ivor and the professional body, the Retail Association and Surface Coatings Employees Association. Unfortunately, Michael Masalesa was retrenched in November of 2020, but he is still available to us and does consults for Sapiti as and when is needed. So just a quote before I continue, and just to reiterate what's been in the reports previous to mine, coming together as a beginning, keeping together as a progress, and working together as a success. And with working together, it will only be the success of Sapma and Sapiti going forward. Just in terms of Sapma membership, the membership has not grown significantly, but there has been growth over the past year. So you'll see now that the manufacturing members is currently on about 122. Supplier members for 2020, 2021, that's at about 66 at the moment. Retail members Gary said that we've got quite a large number of groups, but we also have in total, we've got 20 members. So that's also small individual retail shops as well. And then the paint contractors has gone down slightly to 25 members, but we're working on that going forward. Just some achievements in 2020 and 2021. Obviously, the cheater reviewing of our facilitator, moderator, and assessors. Those are in the final stages at the moment, and we're just waiting for certification of those assessors and moderators now. So we should get that final accreditation, the re-accreditation formalized fairly soon, with those assessors and moderators being registered now, and Sapiti being recognized by TITA as the training provider as well. Sapiti is still developing and offering training to the coating sector, either through the BCF training, which is obviously online training. We do still have the Sapma technical modules as well, the retail training. We do have, which was actually sent to us yesterday, new online training for colour. So that's going to be launched within the next week or so, which I believe is quite prevalent in the market at the moment. So that's, and all the information for that training will be coming out within the next week. And then Sapiti is also working with ARCA in the development of more online training. And I think either Danny or Everett or Gary Marison will just give more detail on that a little bit later in the meeting. Just following on achievements for Sapma as well and Sapiti. So that was just the online training. The restructuring of the Surface Coatings Employees Association with the assistance of Ivor, and he's gone through that as well. And also the recognition from the National Bargaining Council that the Employees Association is actually a very active member this year within the negotiations that are currently taking place. The application to ITEC for the temporary rebates on titanium dioxide, This has been long outstanding, and recent conversations that we've had with the DTI is that we should have some feedback in the not too distant future as to when that rebate will be gazetted and when we can start applying for that rebate. So as soon as I get information from DTI on that titanium rebate, I will let members know, and then you can start applying for that. So that's quite positive and quite informative for our members going forward. The SABS redevelopment of paint laboratories. So in terms of the VOC standards, the SABS is working quite closely with the technical team, as Donald had said, as well as the road marking paint as well. So the standards for the road marking paint, the SABS technical team are working with the Sapma technical team, and Greg Cohen from Spec Coats has offered his services to get involved with that and the testing, as they've got quite a lot of facilities available for testing to assist SABS with that going forward, and formulating the new road marking specifications going forward. So yeah, as we have more information on that as well, I will send that to members. The lead working group, I know Donald mentioned that they're hoping to get that all finalized by the end of 2021. But I think it's probably safe to say that early 2022 we should be able to have some finalization on that. Yeah, that's, and then the VOC specification as well. Donald mentioned that, and then discussions with DTI regarding the new BBBE charter code. We are still in consultation with DTI on that as well. Just in terms of the Sapma feedback on the survey that the members did in March to May this year, that feedback, I mean the stats, the feedback from that survey has been collated, and we'll send that to members after the AGM as well. So thank you to those members who have participated in that survey to give us their feedback on that as well. And then in terms of the relationship with OCA and DMG for the coatings for Africa 2021, that has obviously been moved to 2022. And the proposed dates for that would be May in 2022. But after discussions with DMG as well, they're just hoping that there's going to be no further restrictions, although it's quite positive to know that the Middle East show is taking place or continuing to move forward. So let's hope next year we'll be able to have that Coatings for Africa show in 2022. Again, a big thanks to Jan. I know that he's been in contact with a lot of our associate members, and we've been profiling our associate members in the Coatings magazine for the first half of this year, and we'll continue to do that. So thank you, Jan, for all your assistance and input there as well. And then the application to DTI and ITAC regarding the free trade agreement and the Chapter 39 duties, that's ongoing. And as I said, in a recent meeting that we had with the DTI, they were meeting with ITAC in terms of tariff headings that were either going to be removed or added, but also that needed to be included into that Africa Trade Agreement. So they said that they would give us feedback from that meeting with ITAC, and then I will share that with members going forward. If I can just stop here and just ask Sanjeev, he attended that meeting with me, if there was anything else that he would like to add on that point as well.
Thanks, Tara. Yes, I was going to put my hand up, but probably you read my mind. Thank you for that. Yes, we did have a good meeting with, I think it was pretty recent. It was on Monday or Tuesday, I think, I'm not mistaken, Monday. And so the most important thing that I wish to highlight to the membership is that any company wishing to put or increase or reduce tariff headings have to do it in their personal capacity as a company with ITEC, and the procedure of which DTI would send or ITEC would send Sapma can be shared with the membership, but it has to be done in a personal capacity, one, or through a consultant where number of companies in the same sort of manufacturing arena can get together and apply through a consultant. So Tara, I think for the benefit of the membership, we must highlight both the procedures as soon as we get a clear identification of road from ITEC. It is known to a lot of members who have done it in the past, but especially for members who wish to pursue that road in future, it might be a good option. Secondly, the other very important thing that was discussed, which is concerning all paint manufacturers and associate member manufacturing, is that with the free African trade, as it stands right now, whatever duties are applicable on various products will not be effective or will not be eligible when the free African trade gets in place very soon, or probably the latter part of this year or early next year. And hence there was a request from Sapma and all of us to ensure that we ring fence pretty much the tariff headings of paint and or other products that are currently having duties in place. The sort of risk that paint manufacturers in South Africa and associate member manufacturers face is that if this is not ring fenced, the floodgates will open from countries like Egypt, Dubai, India, China, where all of us know that the labor cost, the electricity cost, etc., is not in line with our South African costs, and we would tend to lose a big manufacturing edge if the floodgates open, and hence it is absolutely vital that we ring fence this for the benefit of our local manufacturing industry. So I would again, once again, this was possible. The dialogue, the meeting, once again was possible with ITEC through the auspices of Sapma. And as Ivor rightly said, if once we get a sort of an association and a confederation, then and only then we would be able to lobby with the Department of Trade and Industry or ITEC or ITED. So it just highlights the importance of Sapma and the activities that we are doing in the background. So that's all I wanted to add. But if there is any issues around tariff headings or any clarifications needed, you could kindly email me and Tara, and we would gladly assist any company wanting to know information, please. Thank you, Tara.
Thanks, Sanjeev. Just moving forward, obviously Sapma is still a member of the NCCM meetings and send out the minutes of those meetings. They're quarterly meetings that take place with various members of the governmental departments. And then also in terms of the other membership, Sapma is obviously a member of the BCF as well as Kaya. And together with Kaya and the DTI, we're working on the chemical master plan as well. So we're on that committee going forward. And Kaya will be sending out notification as to various groups within that master plan committee that need to be formed. So if members could please come forward and be a part of that as well, just to make sure that everything is covered in that master plan for the chemical sector as well, that would be appreciated. Some challenges for Sapma for 2021, obviously the effects of the coronavirus and lockdown, the effects of the recent riot action as well. We need to try and obviously rebuild the coatings industry and the economy. And then, as Sanjeev mentioned, the Africa Free Trade Agreement, without that protection, we're going to have a problem going forward as well. Just in terms of the reaction of unions to COVID-19 and job losses, I know that when we were in negotiations with the unions, they were quite adamant on job retention, and I think that's why they were a bit more lenient in terms of wage increases, as we were quite focused on more job retention than increases. So at least we've come across with a loud voice there as well. The reduction of lead in paint, that's obviously been postponed. It was supposed to be gazetted and regulated already, but that is hopefully going to be done now by the end of beginning of 2022. And then obviously the postponement of the 2020 Coatings for Africa show obviously also is a big challenge for us and the industry, but we're hoping that that will obviously take place in May next year. So that's quite positive going forward as well. Methanol dilemma, there's still some issues on it being registered as a hazardous substance, but as Donald mentioned, that we're working on that as the technical committee as well. And then again, as we all know, the lack of industry stats, and we just need to, as an association or as our members, need to find out if our members would want us to continue with that statistical uphill battle to collate that information either through BOC or an independent company, or if we need to put that to bed and move forward. But a lot of our members are wanting that information, so we need to find a suitable solution going forward for statistical information and the collation of that going forward, and I think that would be quite positive as well. Profitability of Sapma, the cost of training obviously, and the mandate to provide training for the industry has obviously negatively impacted the profitability of Sapma, in that it had to obviously assist Sapiti with costs that were in Sapiti for training and try and keep those costs there, or keep Sapiti open, and the profitability of Sapma has now obviously been a lot less, and Graham will cover that just now. Cash flow, a lot of the big members, a lot of the members are still outstanding membership fees from 2020, which we're still trying to recover those fees, and a substantial amount of 2021 fees are still outstanding. So that's a day-to-day struggle that we have, and we just appeal to members to please pay those membership fees as quickly as possible. And then convincing members to understand the benefits of being a member of Sapma. And I feel that now more than ever, the sector just needs to pull together and work with the association to be able to work together more successfully going forward. And also to convince members to train their staff. I think going forward, if the training is if the training provided is more online, I think that members would be a lot more willing to train, and I think that's the direction that we need to move into, and I think we're already on that road. So I think it's quite positive going forward. Ivar's already spoken, so I don't want to ask him to redo his report. So I'm going to now hand over then to Graham Boak from Boak Incorporated to go.
Sorry, Tara, sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chair. If I can, just on a point of explanation of something Tara said, if it's possible.
Yes, you can go ahead. Yes, you can go ahead, Ivar.
Thank you, Chair. And I know I spoke about it, you spoke about it, and Tara has now spoken about it, but I don't know if I can emphasize strongly enough the following. When it comes to the Department of Employment and Labor certifying your company as a preferential supplier or your products for preferential supply on the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition's database, there are two things they're going to be looking at. The one is your measured entity status, and the other is a certificate of compliance from Sapma or the Coating Confederation that you have submitted regularly your what we call research, but essentially your reports for purposes of inclusion in a national profile, a research and statistics profile for the coatings sector and the coatings industry. I cannot emphasize that enough, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivar. Back to you, Graham.
Good morning to all, and thanks for the opportunity to present the audited financial statements for the year ended 31 December 2020. So what we're going to be doing is looking at 4 documents here. We'll look at the balance sheet of Sapma, we'll look at the income statement of Sapma, then the balance sheet of Sapiti, and then the income statement of Sapiti. So as has been spoken to many times during the course of this meeting, unfortunately, the financial statements do present a very bleak situation, a very negative position, and in fact, an insolvent position. So when we look at that balance sheet of Sapma for the date 31 December 2020, we can see that the liabilities of the organization exceed the assets of the organization by that number in the middle of 477,000. a lot of that has resulted from the write-off or the impairment of the loan that Sapma has given to Sapiti over the years. And as Aggie mentioned earlier in the meeting, that number over the years has totaled about 4.6 million of write-offs that Sapma has given to Sapiti. So I think, yeah, that's the message on this balance sheet, that unfortunately it is in an insolvent position. We've had some meetings with the Manco and the executive. And as Tara alluded to earlier, certain cost-cutting exercises have taken place. So between the ongoing funding requirements of the organization and the reduction in expenses, some plans have been put in place by management to try and restore the solvency of the organization. And hopefully that can be done by the end of this year. A lot of those cost-cutting exercises have taken place in Sapiti, and we'll talk to that in a few minutes' time. So I think we can just move on to the next document, Tara, thank you. So there we're looking at the detailed income statement of Sapma for the year ended 31 December 2020. We can see the total revenue at the top. It was 2.2 million in 2019 and a very similar figure, 2.2 million in 2020. As we go right down to the bottom, we can see that last year Sapma had a loss of 595,000 for the year, and this year a loss of 405,000. A big chunk of that loss this year results from that item a third of the way up the page, which is the impairment of the Sapiti loan. So the funding that Sapma gave to Sapiti during the course of this year was an additional 734,000, which amount is regarded as irrecoverable from Sapiti, and hence it has been written off. So that is the result of Sapma for this year, a loss of 405,000, with a big chunk of it relating to that Sapiti loan impairment. And then if we just move on to the Sapiti information. So having a look at this balance sheet, we can see those numbers we were speaking about earlier, the 4.6 million rand loan. So here the situation is that the total assets of Sapiti come to an amount of 271,000 as at the 31st of December 2020. And the total liabilities are just in excess of 5 million rand. What we've done there is you can see the 4.6 million rand loan from Sapma versus the 4.7 million rand insolvent position of this organization. So that gives us a net insolvency of 57,000 rand as at the end of December 2020. And then just the final document is the detailed income statement of Sapiti. And when one looks at this document, we can see that the training has come down by almost 50% in terms of the revenue source for Sapiti during this year. We received 125,000 rand from course fees during 2020 versus a figure last year of about 239,000. So as I said, a reduction of about 50%. We have other income. A lot of it relates to shared cost recovery from Sapma. So Sapiti runs the payrolls through their books, and then we recover some of those payroll fees from Sapma with an intercompany transaction. So when we go down to the bottom, we can see that Sapiti in the last 2 years has run losses of in excess of 800,000 for both the years. So I think just to hand back maybe to you, Aggie, and to Tara. So in essence, we can see that the organizations have made losses. A lot of it relates to the funding of Sapiti. And as I mentioned earlier, the Manco, the exec, and the executive director, Tara, have had meetings and are looking at various options in terms of the ongoing funding and the cost-cutting exercises that have been put in place. Thanks. I don't know if there are questions. I can hand over to you, Aggie.
Thank you, Graham. Yeah, it really poses a grim outlook on the organization, on Sapiti's organization. We've got to make a decision whether we want to continue Sapiti. The problem is getting people into for training. We've cut costs quite tremendously there, but also the other thing is government sponsorship. We get nothing from them at the moment. Tara can give you a better picture of what's happening there in that particular scenario, if she can just give us her opinion, what she thinks what's things looking forward?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So just in terms of obviously the cost cuttings that we've made now in 2021, that will obviously only be noted next year this time. So just in terms of day-to-day operational costs with Sapma moving offices, there's a reduction of the rental, there's a reduction obviously of salary costs as well, which was the significant expenses for 2020 as well. But just in terms of training and moving forward with that, I think with us doing a lot more online and offering members more online training, and with the colour training coming in now as well, and us in consultation with OCCA as well for development of additional online training from the technical side as well. I think moving forward, we will certainly bring in a lot more revenue for training. However, in saying that, to recover that loss of the 4.8 million, it's not going to happen. I don't think it'll ever be repaid. But certainly in going forward, I do think that there is still a need for training through Sapma as a professional body, or through Sapiti, depending on what the final outcome or decision is, to keep Sapiti open or to close it down, and run training through the professional body under the confederation of Sapma. So those are the options, obviously, going forward, to close Sapiti down, and under the confederation of the professional body, to run training through that, and get assistance obviously from OCCA as they've indicated. So yeah, just
Mr. Chair.
Sorry.
Yes, yes. Is it Ava?
Yes, it is. When Tara's finished, if I can comment, please.
Yeah,
sorry, I can't see if there's hands up. So with me sharing my screen, I can't see if there's hands up or if people have made any comments. So if somebody could just let me know that. Yeah, so that's pretty much from my side in terms of moving forward. So Ivor, I can hand over to you then.
Thank you. So, Chair, we recognized this problem about a year ago, and one of the reasons for the introduction of the professional body is that a professional body is not dependent on a SETA, it's not dependent on income from a SETA, and more importantly, with the very significant amount of internal training that's taking place in our member companies, we have consciously shifted to a mechanism to recognize the training taking place in the member companies, and I reported on that in my report, and to, if you want, register and certificate that internal training taking place in our member companies. On the one hand. On the other hand, to create the pull opportunity through the professional body for the professional recognition of people who work in all jobs, technical, operational, and professional, across all industries in this sector of coatings, to recognize those individuals as professional, as a prerequisite to recognizing them as professional, to have expected them to have attended training in one way or another. And so the intention then is to move away from the Sapiti model towards a professional body recognition of both competency and behavior based on either internal training or public training, which might be taking place at the moment in the various public organizations. The reality is, Chair, that Sapiti cannot survive. Sapiti cannot survive based on the fact that it has a 5 million rand debt on the one hand, and on the other hand, based on the toing and froing of the accreditation argument with the chemical SETA, which has nothing to do with the ability of Sapiti to deliver and everything to do with the politics in that organization. That organization owes Sapma money, it owes Sapiti money, it owes our members money. They are in absolute shambles in terms of their accreditation processes. You can't build an organization for an industry or a sector on that basis. It's for that reason that we're saying move towards a professional model, a professional body model, which expects training to either be internal or already have taken place, and then offer continuous professional development, which is not dependent on accreditation from a SETA, and will allow us then to get our suppliers, our manufacturers, and our internal training activated amongst our member companies without having to go the route of accreditation. The downside of doing that, Chair, and I do need to warn you, the downside of doing that is only 25% of your 6.3% of payroll budget for skills development can be offset against non-accredited training and development. But from a Sapma perspective, we think that that's more than sufficient to right this training problem that is being caused by the Sapiti phenomenon, which is being caused by the chemical CETA and being caused by a whole lot of issues that have nothing to do with Sapma or Sapiti. The real question, Graham, to you and on your financials is, are you able to extract that 4.9 million to determine the true going concern nature of Sapma? Because the assumption is, not the assumption, I've done the numbers, without that debt-laden Sapiti pulling Sapma down, Sapma is in a very, very positive position to be able to deliver on all of the other services we've spoken about.
I agree with that comment, Ava, completely, because the historical aggregated deficit of 4.6 million has been accumulated over quite a few years. And without that debt-laden entity, as you've mentioned, Sapma is definitely a going concern and has sufficient funding, to do the project that they need to do.
And more importantly, from a training and development point of view, Graham, it then allows Sapma to use the surplus of income to invest in a learner management system for our member companies so that we can, as Tara has quite rightly said, we can bring all of that online education available for our member companies on a learner management system, which is not dependent on Sapiti being what draws the funds out of this organization.
I agree 100% here, Ava and Graham. I think the only question I have here is how long will it take us to get this professional body set up?
Chair, as you've seen from my report, we are piloting in the retail chamber. So certainly the intention is that by January, the pilot will have begun because the groundwork will have been done. By July, it will then be in a position for us to extend the designations that have already been developed to the full Sapma membership and to start introducing designations for the 4 industries that constitute the scope of the coating sector. So that's the time frame for the rollout of the professional body. Now, remembering that the professional body will not generate income. It will only generate enough income to cover its costs, but it will generate sufficient opportunity for training providers to want to offer our coatings qualifications that we'll be developing and have already developed and already own and have previously been accredited in such a way that we will be able to earn for Sapma income from those activities by external agencies, also by internal training divisions that want to license those products, rather than us having to run the entire cost of the training activity ourselves.
I tend to agree with what you propose here. I really think it would be a good idea to do that. We can't continue with Sapiti at the moment. It's just costing Sapma too much. Even at this dormant position it's in at the moment.
You see, Chair, if we had the accreditation that Sapiti had and that the chemical CETA is just putting barriers in our way of getting, again, we would be able to get that 4.9 million as a sale for a going concern that is accredited for an industry that wants that training. So it becomes quite a valuable asset to sell off to offset against the loan. However, the barrier to entry at the moment is the fact that the CETA, the chemical CETA, is refusing to actually process the accreditation process for Sapiti and re-accredit us. That's the problem, because if we did have the accreditation, we could quite easily sell Sapiti as a dormant but potentially going concern to a training provider that would then want to continue to run at their risk rather than at the risk of Sapma.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But we don't have that benefit, sir.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll have to leave it up.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I think that there's some hands that were up. I'm not sure.
That was mine. I'm taking it down. I must take it down.
Okay.
Jag Callion's hand is up.
Hi, I just want to comment just based on this historical thing. I think we certainly at that point where this is like a business decision that needs to be made. As far as the PT is concerned, we've all had a hand in this in terms of treating it like a little baby that needs nursing and nursing and nursing. And I think there's been a fair amount of sentiment attached to it. and for the right reasons. But we certainly have got the point where it's actually no return. My view is very clear and in line with what some of the guys have said. I think we need to cut the tape, do what's necessary, and try and start off on this clean slate as soon as we can.
Well, thank you for that, Jags. I agree with what you're saying. I agree that we're going to have to liquidate the organization and just take it off our hands. But we have to put it to a vote and see if members agree with that.
Mr. Chair, if I could just come in here, maybe what I can do is send out an email just with a little bit of background and voting buttons to all the members and get some feedback on that, and then we can take it forward. Would that be suitable?
Yeah, I think Tara, I agree. I think that would be more. I was just going to suggest, instead of doing it online, to do it on email so that we have records in confirmation that the members have voted for that.
I think legally speaking, we have to do it the way that you suggest here, Sanjeev. The reason is for that, you've got to give members enough time to think about it. And to do it at the meeting is very difficult. You can't, we haven't given them enough notice about in terms of making a decision.
Chair, could I propose a motion?
Yes.
The motion would be that at the first meeting of the Executive Committee, as it's being reformulated pursuant to the AGM, at the first meeting of the Executive Committee, one of the items tabled would be consideration of the vote that has come in that you are mandating Tara to take amongst our membership, and that a clear majority would prevail for that Executive Committee to be able to make a decision.
Yes, it's a good idea.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think, Mr. Chair, you sort of misunderstood me. I was saying that it would be, we have discussed this, but we need to formalize it on email. That's exactly, or through what Tara was suggesting. So yes, I agree with Ivor. That would be a more legit way of handling it.
Okay, so we're in agreement with that, Tara. I think you can go ahead with that after the meeting, but give them sufficient time to make their decisions and expect the answers from them, and then we can table it at our next ExCo meeting.
Perfect. I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you for that. Just moving forward.
Sorry, Tara, can I just say one final comment in relation to the statistics collation? Our firm has been involved in that for the past years until it came to an end. So just to let the members know, we sort of completely are confidential. Those emails of the stats come through to my personal address, and I just collate those stats with one of our staff members here. So just to confirm that there is complete confidentiality in compiling those stats that members require, and as our Aggie is critical going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Graham. Just moving forward in terms of confirmation of signatories, we still have Paul Edge, Sanjeev, myself, and Aggie as the signatories for Sapma and Sapiti. And then the confirmation of the auditors would again be if we could reconfirm that it's both incorporated with Graham, and then Donovan. Graham, if you can just confirm Donovan's role. I think he's the lead.
So what we've done from an independence perspective within our firm is I'm very involved in sort of the meetings and decisions and discussions. So Donovan is our independent partner who is the audit signing partner on the financial statements. So he independently reviews them and signs off the audit opinion as I'm involved in more day-to-day activities. So we're both partners in our firm. It's just that there's an independence check and a separation of function.
Okay.
Yeah, I suggest that we carry on with BOC. They've been very good to us over the years. I don't know, has anyone opposed that? I think we continue with them as our auditors.
I agree.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Graham.
Just moving on to constitutional matters. There are a couple of constitutional suggestions or changes or suggested changes. And I'm going to hand over to Ivor just to go through it, just to present it to the members. And then again, I think at the next exec meeting, we can move forward with that. And then also in the past, I know that I used to confirm the executive members from the nominations that we've received, but I can't do that this year being the executive director. So Ivor is going to just go through that and just confirm that for us. So I'll hand over to you, Ivor. Thank you.
Sorry, my microphone was off. Right, thank you, Tara. What I want to do is I just want to very quickly go through a couple of observations. I was asked to look at the Constitution and just make a couple of observations. So first of all, the Constitution will have to be amended because in fact, Sapma is a sectoral body. It's not an industry body. It's a sectoral body which represents 4 industries at the moment. It represents suppliers, it represents manufacturers, it represents retailers, and it represents contractors. And that needs to be made clear in the Constitution. It's currently not clear in the Constitution at all in that regard. Second thing is, as far as the Sapma executive is concerned, the Constitution, clause 9.1, clearly makes provision for a term of office for the executive of 1 year. At the end of that, of every year, the executive has to step down before every AGM. Committee remains constituted until the close of business of the following AGM meeting. But provision is made for an individual's re-election to the executive committee, and there's no limit on the number of years an individual can be re-elected to the executive committee. Now, ordinarily, there should be a limit of 3 or 5 or 6 years, as an example. But our primary concern is always going to be the retention of historical knowledge and historical ability. At the moment, nominations are made allowance for in terms of 9 manufacturers onto EXCO and 7 from all of the other chambers. So there's absolutely no parity between the chambers. So at the moment, Sapma is an organization where the manufacturers have the predominant influence on all of the decisions. The suppliers, the retailers, and the other affiliates, including the contractors, do not have an impact or an effect on the trajectory in terms of the Constitution. One possible solution is you change the number slightly where you end up with 6 manufacturers and then a balance of another 6 made up of 2 suppliers, 2 retailers, and 2 other affiliates. That gives you, in fact, less than the current 16, but it gives you a balance. It gives you a 6-to-6 balance rather than an imbalance, which currently is constituted by the Constitution. Excuse the tautology. As far as the governance is concerned in terms of the Sapma Constitution, there's no allowance for continuity. There's no qualifying criteria for office bearers, particularly chairperson and vice chair people. It talks about qualifying criteria, but the Constitution doesn't have any of those criteria in place. And there's certainly no, and this is a major problem with which both Department of Trade and Industry and Department of Labor have picked up on. There is no provision for a commitment to transformation by the Coating Confederation, which is Sapma, which Sapma is involved in as a patron. So no organization in the relationship with Sapma has any commitment to transformation whatsoever, and the Constitution has to be amended in that regard. There's no question about that. As I've said, the criteria for chairperson is that there's a custom, which is a problem in itself, that only manufacturers should be the chairperson of the organization. And the solution is simple. It's a rotation. It's either a rotation of the chair, the vice chair, and the vice chair, or alternatively, at a chairperson level, it's the creation within our Constitution of an opportunity, not the sole opportunity, but an opportunity to create a neutral chairperson, someone who can be invited to serve as a chairperson of the organization on a neutral basis so that they're not industry specific. Ordinarily, it might be a retired person or it might be a person from an allied industry. Solution to these problems? Well, EXCO at its first meeting should elect the chairperson and 2 vice chairpersons. These 3 office bearers should each commit to a maximum of 4 years commitment to the organization, where the progression would look something like this. The first time you're nominated or elected, you would be nominated or elected as a junior vice chairperson. The senior vice chairperson progresses to a chairperson role the following year, and then the chairperson, who is now no longer chairperson, progresses back to EXCO as an ex officio member for a 1-year period, hence the 4-year commitment. That gives you historical commitment, historical legacy, and historical memory. The office bearers serve at least 1 year as a new vice chairperson, 1 year as a senior vice chairperson, and 1 year as a chairperson, and then move back to EXCO on an ex officio basis for that final year. And so each year, instead of having to re-elect a chairperson and 2 vice chairpersons, we're only having to elect 1 new chairperson to move into that rotation. So each year, only 1 person is moving out of the rotation and only 1 person is moving into the rotation. While that might be our custom and habit, it's not constitutionally included. And that is the problem we have at this moment in time. So Tara, those are the points you wanted me to make observation of. I hope it's clear, and I'm very happy to take any questions in that regard.
I've got a question here. What is going to happen with the ManCo?
So ManCo is constituted from EXCO. So ManCo is constituted from EXCO. So it would be the 2 vice chair people. It would be the chairperson, and then ManCo can be extended to at least be the chair people of the various subcommittees of the organization from a governance perspective. But again, it's very bleak in terms, nondescript in terms of how it's been included in the Constitution. And my recommendation is very, very much that we make it very, very clear.
Mr. Chair, can I come in kindly, Ivor? If you can give me.
Thanks, Sanjeev.
Yes.
Ivor, I totally concur with your suggestion about the vagueness of the Constitution, because we definitely need to update it, because it's something like it's constantly evolving, and we need to update the Constitution. So there is no any doubt or 2 ways about it. Okay. However, a point that I would like to reinforce from your observations and suggestions is that there are 9 members from manufacturing sector, manufacturing paint, and 7 from the associate members, and none from the retailers or contractors. So definitely we need that representation. However, I would like to place on record that even in the past, they were invited to be part of the EXCO. However, none of them wanted to participate at that period in time, and hence probably no representation. But we can definitely formalize it to a stage where we would say, again, being a manufacturing, let's put it this way, it's the paint manufacturers definitely should be the focus of our sector, because everybody is dependent. They are the nucleus. Paint manufacturers are the nucleus of the organization or the sectoral body, and associate members, contractors, and retailers would be surrounded around this nucleus. So we would have to have major representation from paint manufacturers. That is obviously what I feel. 1. And there should be adequate representation from retailers and contractors, maybe 2 from each. So we could expand on the EXCO. The more the people, the better the view and input into managing there. We don't have to limit to 9 and 7 being only 16. I think we could expand it to even 20. But I would still feel that the paint manufacturing should be the nucleus of the sectoral body.
So Sanjeev, just on the point of explanation, sir, what I was recommending was that we would have 6 manufacturers on EXCO, and then 2 from suppliers, 2 from retailers, and 2 from the associates, including contractors, which then means that you have a balance of 6, so 50% of EXCO In fact, you could say 7, all right? You could say more than 50%, but 50% of EXCO would be manufacturers, and the balance would be constituted of the other 3 industries, 2. So in fact, manufacturers would be in control of that organization. If there was a neutral chairperson, by the way, that neutral chairperson could also constitutionally come from manufacturing. There's no reason you can't say that. In other words, a retired person who has a history in manufacturing. So you don't have to step away from that. And that individual, on the basis of a 6-6 vote, would always then have an overriding vote as a neutral chairperson. So there are many ways you can handle this. Maybe the best thing we could do at this moment in time, because the current constitution determines how we run today's AGM, but maybe what we could do is elect that at the first executive committee meeting, the proposals of changes to the constitution, including how EXCO is reconstituted, how MANCO is properly defined, how the office bearer positions have proper criteria afforded to them. All of that is put then to EXCO, that very first EXCO meeting, for a decision to be made.
Can I just ask a question here? At our EXCO meetings, I'm actually making a statement, not a question. At our EXCO meetings, we had a few manufacturers and many suppliers at the meetings. We're going to have to look at getting guys from our organization into those EXCO meetings. And the thing is, yeah, if we got, let's say, 20 guys attending a meeting, as an example. So in other words, it will only be the 6 guys in future, it will only be the 6 guys from manufacturing and the other 6 guys from the other sectors attending the meetings.
And that's why exactly my point, Mr. Chair, is that we need to expand on the EXCO instead of 16, because we have got, now we are going to be classified as a sectoral body. We need to make sure that the EXCO represents 20 people or 20 or 22. I'm just saying it doesn't make a difference. Why do we need to stick to the 16 number? I don't think that there is any sort of rationale on that point.
So
okay?
just on the point of
Sorry, Ivor, let me just finish if you don't mind. And secondly, in terms of the chair, which Ivor rightfully said that it can be a neutral person. However, it can be a neutral person from the coatings fraternity, because we cannot have any chair who has no idea of the coatings fraternity, whether it be paint manufacturer, whether it be associate member, retailer, or contractor. So it has to be associated with the sectoral body. It can be a neutral chair. I have no issues about it, but as long as it is within the industry. Sorry, Ivor. Yes.
So just two points of explanation. Certainly, when I spoke about the possibility of a neutral chair, and the Constitution doesn't make allowance for a neutral chair, so we'd have to change the Constitution. But the possibility of a neutral chairperson, I said specifically that it could be a manufacturer, it could be a retired person from the manufacturing sector, meaning all 4 industries within the industry and the sector as well. It totally depends on how, on an open and a transparent basis, you want the EXCO to be managed. I don't want to use the term dominated, but managed. I just want to come back to your point, though, about numbers and 22 or more than 22, because it's a sectoral body. You're quite correct. The reality is that we have not had a habit in Sapma of properly utilizing alternative nominations. And my suggestion is that if you have 12 principal members and then 12 alternate members, and both the principal and the alternate members are expected to participate and attend and make contributions to the executive committee, just on the numbers that I've recommended, you've immediately got 24 people involved.
No, I agree, Ivor, but the apathy has always been over the years, and a number of people attending the current AGM will bail me out on this, is that unfortunately the representation at the EXCO, which is once every quarter, is not adequate. So I think the first request that I would like to make to the future EXCO is that let there be representation on a regular basis. It's 4 meetings a year. probably 2 hours long. We would really want input from all the members who have nominated or are nominated or who have nominated themselves. That's all we are asking for, Mr. Chair. Am I correct in?
I agree with you, Sanjeev. I think the last meeting, the EXCO meeting, besides Stephen and myself on the manufacturing side, there were maybe another 2 guys from manufacturing. And the rest of them were from the suppliers. So that's just a disturbing thing for me. That's why I mentioned in my speech that the guys must get involved. We don't see much involvement in this organization.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Sorry. So constitutionally, the way I've seen it operate in other sectors and industries is what you might want to say is, number one, whoever has been nominated is responsible for the conscription, nomination, and acceptance of their alternative. That's the first point. And is responsible for the participation and attendance of their alternative in all meetings that they cannot participate in. In the absence, for more than 2 meetings or more than 3 meetings, the Constitution should determine that that person's position as an EXCO member should be withdrawn, and the position should be then made available to all other members to make nominations onto. In other words, the point I'm trying to make is, it is EXCO's responsibility and MANCO's responsibility to track and manage participation, and where there is no participation, to try and encourage it from elsewhere. And that's just in response to your point about how badly attended sometimes these meetings are. And if a principal member doesn't attend, alternative doesn't pitch up automatically as a matter of course.
You know, my biggest complaint here was that the guys who don't attend, that are supposed to be on the EXCO, they actually let the organization down, because the information that we give them at these meetings has been really important for our organization. And if people are just showing this apathy and not attending meetings, I don't know where we're going with this organization. That's my issue. That's my biggest issue. I don't know if Sanjeev agrees with me, because he's been through years. I think he was there for about 4 years longer than me.
Sorry, I was on mute, Mr. Chair. I totally concur with your views, and I think time and again at the AGM we have made this very categorically advised that we need representation at the EXCO. So we once again would wish to place it on record that, you know, my humble request for every EXCO member, current and future, to please spare 2 hours of their time every quarter for the benefit of the industry, for the benefit of the sector, because at the end of the day, we all stand to gain or lose what happens in our industry. So, you know, I think it is vitally important. I agree with Ivor. We can work out the semantics about the number of people, whether from manufacturing or associates or contractors, etc., retailers in the next EXCO. But even if we have 20 of them, it doesn't make a difference. I think it will be a good idea to expand on the membership of the EXCO, so that we have some good input and views that can challenge the chair and the vice chair from time to time, and that's what we are looking for.
Look, I agree with you, Sanjeev, and I don't disagree entirely with Ivor. You know, Ivor came up with some good suggestions, but let's see how it works. That's what I'm saying.
Super. Tara, over to you. I think we have had quite a bit of discussion around the Constitution, but definitely a point to discuss at the first EXCO, and maybe it should be made as an agenda item, and maybe just as we are going to be circulating the Sapiti views, maybe a view on the Constitution should also be circulated to the members, and let's even hear from the members. What are their views? If they necessarily have not aired their views now, probably they could email them to us.
Definitely, I agree with that, Sanjeev. So my thinking was just in moving forward with that. just on the constitutional matters, that I could, once the exec members have been nominated for this year going forward, that I could send them the current constitution note, as well as the suggested changes, as well as additional changes to the constitution for them to read up on, and then at the next exec meeting in October, we can discuss it in more detail once they've obviously had more time to read it and go through those changes or suggested changes. So I'll do that after the meeting as well.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Tara.
Perfect.
And thanks, Aba. Thanks for your suggestions. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Perfect. So just moving forward in terms of the executive nominations, I have received the nomination forms from members and made the relevant changes. If I can then just hand over to Ava then to confirm. We'll start off the manufacturing members at the moment and then move on to the supplier members, and then the other members that are automatically on the executive as well, which is retail committee, technical, education, and then yeah. So I'll just move forward on. You can take that.
Tara, there's nothing constitutionally that says you can't handle this section, and my suggestion is that you just handle the nomination section.
Sure. So just moving on to the manufacturing members, Terry Ashmore is the honorary member, Frank Wagner is the first member for Dulux, and Johan Smith is the alternative. Bobby is the primary member for Plascon, and Priya Lala is the alternative. Peter de Vries from Prominent Paints, Stephen Reinecker from Promac, Aggie from Warrior, Simon from Durham, Russell from Becker's Industrial, Nico van Eerden from Stonecore, Ryan Harrison from IMCD. And then I just need confirmation from Danny, if Danny is still the OCA representative or if it would move to Everett on that. But if OCA could just confirm that with me afterwards. And then
Tara?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Okay, what we decided at OCA is that for continuity, Danny, although with his changed role, he is much less available in the day. He would still be the primary, but I will be the alternative. And then we've also nominated Dieter Krug.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for that, Everett. I'll add that to the document as well. And then associate members.
Tara, my apologies. There on NAMPEC as well, Eric Kwadi has resigned. He's actually reached retirement age, so you can replace the alternative by my name.
Okay, great. Thank you, Percy. I will change that information now as well. Thank you for that. Will Lynn remain as the primary, Percy?
Yes. Lynn remains as a primary.
Okay,
yeah. In fact, you know what? Maybe instead of me, you could add Tuli Ngobese there. Tuli is the same position as Lynn. She now looks after Gauteng, while Lynn looks after Durban and Cape Town.
Okay, great, perfect.
All right.
I will make that amendment then. Thank you for that input.
Okay.
So Sushin is from Actichem. Jag is the primary for ferro coatings, and Daniel Sushin is the alternative. Just confirmed from Percy for NAMPEC. I'll make that change. Sanjeev from Synthetic Polymers, Paul from Ryan Ruhr, and Graham Duke from BAMR. And then just in terms of ex officio officers, Megan Subramani for Chairman of Education Committee, Donald Wasson for Technical, Everett, it would be yourself and Danny for OCA, Gary van der Merwe for Retail, and then Francois Denacker is the Chairman of the Surface Coatings Employees Association as well. So that's been suggested that his inclusion is included into the ex officio members as well going forward. Just in terms of Coatings for Africa, the dates that have been suggested at the moment is the 4th to the 6th of May 2022. But as soon as we've received more information about that, we will be in contact with members. I did have a conversation with the head of events from Dubai yesterday, Paddy, and he confirmed that he will be coming out to South Africa to visit members and prospective members. But if members would like to be in contact with him, they can just send me an email with regards to stands and booking of stands or anything related to Coatings for Africa. He's handling all of that and will be able to assist you going forward. But when he is in South Africa, I will be able to set up some meetings with members, be it online or face-to-face if we can. But I don't have those travel dates yet. So as soon as I have that information, I'll share that with members as well. And then I think we move on to general. So I will hand back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, guys, my mic's off. I have nothing to say on the general. I expressed my opinions there. Has anyone, I don't know how we're going to move around yet. Does anyone have anything to say? Just unmute your mic and
maybe what I can do is sorry, Mr. Chair, I can maybe just stop sharing my screen and we can just go down the list then if that's all right.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Okay,
Paul, sorry, you carry on, you carry on.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Let me go from the top then. Graham Duke.
Nothing from me, thanks, Tara.
Sure. Gary van der Merwe.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Everett.
Sorry, I just had to unmute my mic. There was in the beginning, we did mention something about OCA being involved in training and funding, but this is an ongoing discussion in the OCA SA division. Tara, we have some, Gary informed us that there was some other talks that he had to you and that we will look at the issues in the coming month. We have the SA division meeting next in September, middle of September.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you. Perfect. Sanjeev?
Yeah, just one thing from my side. Salutations to the outgoing chair, Mr. Aggie, and just a few words, a few sentences that I would like to share in this meeting is, Aggie, we have really learned a lot from you, especially me. You're a man of few words, but wise ones, and you've really led Sapma down the golden path, and though through all the challenges and trials and tribulations, I think it was an absolute honor working under you in the Manco as well as the Exco. And I'm sure we will have your input all the time, anytime when we need it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Sanjeev. We've been down a long road over the years, and I think I've learned a lot from you as well. Thank you very much. And thanks to all the members here, all the different paint manufacturers and suppliers and retailers. You guys have been there and I've learned from all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aggie. Pre-J?
Nothing from my side, thank you.
Petra?
Nothing from my side.
Thank you. I'm not sure who Trev Orm is. I'll move on. iPad, I'm not sure who iPad is either. Maybe I'll ask you to unmute and then if you've got anything.
Sorry, I think iPad could be me, Tara. It's Athel Gullis from Ennis Flint. No, I don't have anything.
Great. Thank you very much. Jack, is there anything from your side?
No, Tara, nothing for me.
Thank you. Ryan?
Nothing from my side, thanks, Tara.
Sure. Donald?
Nothing more from me, thanks, Tara.
Sure. Jan de Beer? Jan de Beer is going to keep very quiet. I'll leave you till the end, Jan, if you've got something to add. Graham Bogue.
Nothing else from me, thank you.
Sure. Niels.
Nothing from our side, thanks.
Sure. Percy.
Nothing from our side, Tara.
Thank you. Ray Morkel.
Nothing from me.
Stephen Reinecker, that's been nice and quiet.
Yeah, nothing from me. Thank you, Tara.
Sure. Paul Edge.
Nothing from me, Tara. Thank you.
Thank you. Frank. Frank. Frank, I can't hear you. I'll wait. I'll come back to you, Frank. Paul from Ryan Ruhr.
Hi, Tara. I'd just like to check with regard.
Paul, I can't hear you. I'm not sure if other members can hear you. You're breaking up quite badly. Oh, what's happened? I'm not. I think Paul has gone. No, Paul is still there. Paul, I can't hear you. Paul, I'll have to.
Is it better now?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay.
It was. I can't hear you again. I'll come back to you in a few minutes, Paul.
Yeah, okay.
V. Boshoff, I'm not sure who that is.
Good afternoon, Tara. Victor from New Prince and Princeton. Nothing from my side, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Frank, can I try again? I can't hear you, Frank. I'll come back to you. Sean?
Nothing from me, thanks.
Sure. Noel?
Nothing from my side, Tara. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Noel. I've already done those. Jack. Cindy?
Nothing from my side, thanks.
Perfect. Dudley?
Dudley Horn from Xena Chemicals. Nothing from my side. Thanks very much.
Perfect. Thank you. Sharon Barrow from Boke. I'll come back to you, Sharon. Simon?
Hi, Tara. Nothing from my side, just a thank you to everybody who's contributed. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for your input. I've got a TJS.
Hi, Tara. Nothing from my side at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nzi?
Thanks, Tara. I've got nothing to add as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Was there any? Oh, I need to go back to Paul. Paul from Ryan Ruhr.
Is it better now?
I'm not going to say yes or no because I might jinx it, but carry on.
Yeah, thanks, Tara. It's just with regards to sort of maybe sort of the training side of the organization. I think we would like to discuss, possibly with Megan, the potential of getting involved and maybe incorporating a technology sort of component into the mix. I think it's always good to stay up to date with latest sort of manufacturing sort of principles and the equipment associated with that. Is that something that we could just set up and chat about?
Could I respond to that, Paul?
Yeah, sure.
So the principle of the professional body is recognizing a person as a professional and then expecting them to participate in regular, continuous professional development so that every 3 years they can be re-registered as a professional. So that can be done at every level. It can be done at the entry level, which is a technical level. It can be done for your meat and potato employees, who we call operational staff. And then it can be done at the higher level, who are obviously the professionals. And so we're required to have continuous professional development facilitated by the professional body, exactly what you're talking about, Paul, both in terms of technology, in terms of new products, in terms of embracing the 4IR, whatever it is, on a regular basis, offered to all professionals registered across all 3 bands, technical, operational, professional, on an ongoing basis. So very much that becomes the main drive then of the professional body.
Mr. Chair? Chair?
Yes, yes.
If I may also just put something in there. Paul?
Yeah, you're welcome.
OCA is holding now regular webinars, and we are looking for hosts. So what I'll do, I'll contact you, and I'll see if we can set up maybe a webinar from your side, which is held for the OCA and General Coatings membership. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. Like I said, I'd like to run with this, please.
Perfect. Thanks for your input, Paul. Yeah. So if you want, I can put you in contact with OCA. But yeah, we can have that discussion. Excuse me, after the meeting. Sanjeev, did I go past you, or did I give you an opportunity? I did give you an opportunity.
You did. I've spoken enough, Tara, for the day. Thank you.
I feel the same. I'm starting to lose my voice. I'm not sure if I've left anyone out. If I have, maybe you can just put up your hand. I know that I skipped over Frank twice, but I can't hear you, Frank. So I have to just make the assumption that there isn't anything, unless you would like to add something. I still can't hear you, Frank. Okay. So just from our side under general, obviously we would like to send our sincere condolences to one of our long-standing members, Palash Mudli, who passed away due to COVID about a week and a half ago. So condolences to the members of Olympia Paints in Cape Town, and to his family as well. And then also just from my side, just to say thank you very much to Aggie as chairman. It's really been a great opportunity to work with you as chairman, and I'm not going to say goodbye, because I'm hoping that you'll still stay involved and be a part of Sapma going forward, as we really do appreciate your input and having you as a member of Sapma as well going forward, and at the exec as well. So I'm not going to say goodbye, but we will really miss you. But thank you for everything that you've done and all your input over the years as well. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Tara, and I wish you all the strength going forward, and the organization. You know, my heart was in this. It was very difficult for me to make this decision, but over the last year, I've had other issues involved in my life, so I decided I just couldn't carry on, not on a full-time basis. So thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone, for your support.
Thank you, Iva. Sorry, thanks, Aggie. And then just in terms of the Manco, I'd just like to thank all our Manco members as well, and my exec members, and all the members of Sapma. So thank you very much. And then thank you also to Iva as the consultant for your input, and to Jan de Beer, last but not least, for all our PR and making sure that we're well represented on the media side as well. So thank you to everybody for your input over the past year, and we look forward to a great and successful 2021, what's left of it, and moving forward into 2022. So thank you for that.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.